Saturday, everyone. I just wanted to do another Ask Alexis Anything. I've been getting a ton of questions online, so I feel like it's a great opportunity to answer a few questions. And if you've got any while we're doing this, feel free to put it down in the chat. So what do we have, Shayna?
Danielle asked, can you share more about your plan for universal childcare? I am an early childhood workforce development provider through UNR. I was able to see this happen. I want to see this happen so bad, but I don't want unrealistic pushes from the government to squeeze the already drained workforce.
Well, I love that question because I think that people are so hungry for better access to childcare and childcare they can actually afford, which in our state, as we know, we have some of the most expensive childcare, anywhere from $12,000 to $15,000 a year for families. It's 10% of most families' earnings are spent on childcare. And so we've got to fix the system, which is why I put into my plan that I want to support universal childcare in the state of Nevada. We've got to phase it in, though. So I think that the first thing is to put a plan together to see how we're going to actually pay for this and how we can make sure that we get our most vulnerable families on the program first. And I also want to bring care providers like yourself to the table to hear about the workforce concerns. I know that you had brought up that in New Mexico they had done the same thing and they're seeing problems with the system, and I think it's finding ways that we can make sure that families can access the child care that they need. Child care centers are set up for success, that child care providers, both in centers and in their own home, the in-home child care providers are set up for success as well. And as part of my jobs program, I have also discussed how I want to support careers for folks who need to fill essential roles in the state that we don't have enough of, which early child care is part of that. So I think that there are a few ways that we can go about it. Right now, our current system with the Children's Cabinet, I love that nonprofit, but we've created so many barriers to getting into that system, especially the needs-based system. My understanding is you can't get access to childcare if you are needs-based until your kid is 9, and by then it's over. So I think that we need to make sure that we're being really strategic and bringing everyone to the table to answer these questions, but it's something that the governor needs to have a plan for and actually wants to do something about, and no one is talking about it in this race but me.
Lots of heart emojis coming at you for that. We have a question here. How from Unbalanced Beckons, how will you keep our groundwater safe from data centers and corporations dumping illegally?
Great question. So we have a governor who fired the state water engineer because he pushed back against big industry. And so we need a governor who really makes it a priority to make sure that our agencies are filled with moral and ethical people who can do those jobs, who can actually operate and hold people accountable. And we need to remember that the state is also a regulator, and the state needs to do a better job of regulating on bad actors. And we are seeing this play out today, right now, in our governor's office. They have turned a blind eye to the actions of the Elon Musk boring company and the illegal dumping that they are also doing of the sludge that comes out of those tunnels. And we haven't seen the AG do anything on it at all. And they have made records disappear, have decided not to show up to hearings that they've asked to come out to. And so we actually need leaders who want to be transparent, who want to hold all of our industries accountable for their actions. And we need to make sure we're preserving our incredible public lands and data centers. I also have a whole plan on how we can better regulate data centers in this state. Check it out as part of my economic plan. But essentially, these high water users need higher accountability. We also are giving them tax write-offs, 70% in some cases to come into our state when they already want to be here, need to be here, and they're not even paying their fair share. So there's a lot of better regulations that we could look at for data centers, which I've outlined as well. And I'm the only candidate actually talking about that as well.
Okay. Lots of hearts and flames for that one. So fire emoji. Matt wants to know, current Nevada PUC commissioners are out of touch with regular Nevadans. What type of PUC commission would you put together if elected governor?
Here's the thing. I think we need better laws to make sure that if we are not asking the PUC to be a policymaker and that they can actually follow the laws that are on the books. And so I know that there's a lot of frustration with the PUC. These are committed public servants, in my opinion. I think that they're trying to do the best that they can with the laws that are on the books. And we've made it so that essentially they have to look at ways that all the users are properly paying their fair share, which is what this demand charge is supposed to do, because as a state we haven't invested in ways that we can support our most vulnerable users, that we can also make sure that we're supporting users who have done the right thing, who put solar panels on their houses. So and I think that we need to do a better job of modernizing our current system so that they can make sure that they're following those laws. But obviously, looking at appointments in the state of Nevada is going to be a huge part of being governor, and seeing how we can better represent all of Nevadans in all of our appointments, all of our boards and commissions. These commissions should be made up of community members who want to see a better Nevada and who don't have a monetary tie to any of these situations. But again, I'm not saying that that's what the PUC is. That's what's happening at the PUC. However,
we've gotten a lot of, you talked about the demand charge question, but we've gotten a lot of questions from followers essentially saying, is there any truth to the rumors that Joe Lombardo has influenced the delay of the implementation of the NV Energy demand charge until November to benefit his reelection?
Well, I mean, there was an article in the Nevada Independent that I recommend folks check out, that they are trying to dig into this. I think it's the governor's office wouldn't answer questions on whether they were part of that delay. So I would argue that that's probably a political decision, but where we'll see what the investigation, if the Independent ends up doing an investigation on that and really digging into that. But we shouldn't have our utilities be used as a political pawn or tool. And so that's one of the reasons that I have in my economic plan that we need to look at capping utilities for now so we can keep people housed and support our most vulnerable Nevadans. And that's something that I think can help people on the ground, and that's how a governor can actually support affordability and do something for folks.
Xander says, can I phone bank at any time or just when the phone banking events are held?
You can phone bank at any time as long as you're not doing it in the middle of the night. So you let Caitlin know when, or reach out to us, reach out to the team, and let us know that you want a phone bank. I was phone banking yesterday, and I wasn't part of the big group phone bank. So whenever you want, we need you to do it. Absolutely. Thank you.
All right, next question. Alexis, what would you say to any Republican who is intrigued by your message?
I would say that I wouldn't be surprised that Republicans are intrigued by my message, because Republicans want to see investments in their communities, and they don't like to see that we are allowing the very wealthy to get away with not paying their fair share in taxes. So I've actually traveled this state as part of this campaign of getting into, we've tried to hit up every county in this state to make sure I talk to local leaders and see what's happening on the ground. And many Republicans are frustrated because their communities are falling apart. They don't have the resources to invest in essential services, and these are Republicans. So we definitely need to make sure that we stop putting a partisan approach when we're talking about investing in Nevadans, because I think that's a bipartisan message.
Matt says, now that the filing period is over, who are some candidates that you'd like to help lead Nevada, particularly the Raise to Replace Amadei and Northern Nevada?
Oh my gosh. I think there's a really good list of Democrats. I am so sorry, but I am going to just hold on doing an endorsement right now on a candidate. But I would say we are in a really good position because a lot of great people have filed who really want to see better for the state. So please do your research, check them out. And I obviously want to see a Democrat win that seat. It would be incredible if a Democrat could. I mean, so amazing. Something like I've never believed could happen. So I think it's great that people are putting themselves out there and trying to see a change for Congress. And who wants to work for Congress right now too? So bravo for them for filing.
Noah, I have good news for you. Noah asked, would you support a 3% rent cap?
Oh my gosh. I am looking at, I want to do a temporary rent cap when I become governor. And I want to, as an executive order, as an emergency housing executive order, and then I want to look at a long-term rent cap that the legislature could enact for future legislation, certainly. And, you know, I've talked to landlords. Oh my gosh, this wonderful woman called me the other day and said, I own a few homes and I always go under market, and yet I would be really worried about voting for someone who was talking about a rent cap. And I said, but you're not the problem. You're under market for your homes. You're not jacking up prices like 100, 200, 300%, which we are seeing happen to our local community members. And that's why we're seeing homelessness, especially in seniors, is such a crisis in this state. So I'm not talking about mom and pop shops who are already doing the right thing. I'm talking about a lot of this is corporately owned properties who they don't care who's in there. And we have really lenient laws that make it so it's very easy to kick people out of properties, and they don't have many rights in this state. So we've got to make sure that we're keeping people housed.
Giovanni says, how will you fix the mental health crisis in Nevada? As an EMS worker in Las Vegas, mental health patients get bounced from hospital to jail, back to hospital.
Right. Thank you for your service, first of all. You have such a hard job, and you see really that crisis on the ground every day. And so bless you. You have a really tough job, and you're taking care of Nevadans. So thank you for that. I want to see the state invest in mental health facilities. So we could look at building and leasing mental health facilities and getting private providers to come in so that they don't have the overhead. We've done that as a model in my county, and we're about to open the Northern Nevada Children's Behavioral Health Facility, which will be incredible and such an amazing resource for our state. It will open in 2027, but guess what? As soon as it opens, those 92 beds are going to be full, and we still have so many other needs for our youth and our seniors and our homeless folks and just all community members. And so it's looking at making those investments, and then also looking at seeing how we can get people who have mental health crises out of our court system, because they are having problems finding appropriate bed spaces for folks who are having these crises. And so I think there's a real opportunity to make sure that we're also supporting those folks and saving you, the taxpayer, money in the long term. And also we're looking at incentives for people who want to get into psychology and who want to get into the mental health field, how the state can offset your tuition if you stay here and serve us for 10 years. So we want to invest in future practitioners as well, because we know we don't have enough in the state.
Bike Math says the Dems in the legislature passed a lot of progressive bills knowing they'd be vetoed. It's my belief they wouldn't have let those bills get a vote under a Democratic governor. Can you get movement?
Wow, what an interesting question. I have no idea about that thought, but they did pass some really great bills that would have supported everyday Nevadans. I think that what the governor's job is to be, you not only are you the leader of the state, but you're the leader of the Democratic Party, and pulling people together to find good solutions to these major problems. So I think there's a lot of legislators who'd like to see some real change in this state, but have been stymied by either those vetoes or by finding someone to champion their idea. So I'd like to be that kind of governor that supports our really, really great things for our state, and also making sure that we meet the goals. So that's why I put out a plan, because I want to actually, I don't want it to be this opaque idea of what Alexis is going to do when she's elected. I actually want people to know what I'm thinking about doing, and as a signal for leadership of these are the changes that actually need to be implemented in our state, and here's how I'd like to lead on them. And that's the partnership the governor has with the legislature.
Abdu and others, if you have questions, drop them in the comments and we'll come back to them. Thanks to everyone for all of these questions so far. One thing we've gotten in a bunch of, especially on Facebook, we've gotten a bunch of questions about this recent development vote that you did. Mm-hmm. First of all, can you explain the situation? Because I think it's something that folks in Northern Nevada, and specifically folks in Reno and Washoe Valley, might know a lot about, but other folks might not know anything about, but be seeing in various comments. So can you explain it, kind of set the scene? When did it start? What's happening? And then talk a little bit about why you voted the way you did, and what that means for why you're running for governor.
Sure. Well, I am a county commissioner right now. So I have to go and meet as a county commissioner most Tuesdays at the Washoe County Chambers. And we make decisions on behalf of the county every week. And this was one of those decisions that came before the board because it was appealed. The Planning Commission had unanimously denied a development in Pleasant Valley called Sierra Reflections. Now, let me tell you, this didn't start like 2 years ago. This development has been on the books, and I like to call these developments zombie developments because they've been on the books and they're somewhat alive, but they come around. They come around every few years. So before I was even born, this development was on the books as a casino and as also condos. Then there was a big land use settlement between the cities and the government improvement districts on land use decisions, one of them being Sierra Reflections. So the big compromise that was made is you need to reduce the impact of this development. You get three points that you could look at to change this development into. So one of the opportunities that the county took was to reduce the impact and take away the casino right as well as the condos, and say that 980 single family homes can be built there instead. So that compromise happened in 2002. So for 2 decades.
Wait, what were you doing in 2002?
I was in college in 2002. So it was some time ago. So for 2 decades, this development has gone through tentative map processes, asked for extensions, the deal. And it came before the Board of County Commissioners, it went to the Planning Commission after 2 years of being reviewed by the staff, and the community organized. And I give the community in Pleasant Valley and Washoe Valley, any other community members who came out, I give you kudos. The organization was incredible. It was I think there were at one point close to 120 people in the chambers. Not everyone spoke, but I think there were 70 some odd public commenters. Really great points, but we have to meet the findings as county commissioners, and I could meet the findings. And also, a commissioner had negotiated with the developer a way to get a fire station on the books faster by asking for some upfront money, $1 million upfront, to develop a fire station, which is badly needed in that area. That area is what was hit with, near that area was hit with the Davis fire. So we know that we need those resources, and we need a station on the ground. So I could meet the findings. I thought staff did a good job of conditioning the project. This is going to be a really tough project to develop because of all these really tough conditions that the state and the county and the health district put in place. And 3 of us voted to reverse the planning commission's decision, and I'm sure this is going to be litigated because development projects always are, but we saw that if we potentially would have kept the planning commission decision, I do think that we would have been successfully sued, and we would have been seeing the county pay out a major settlement to a developer, which I know that communities in Las Vegas are familiar with this happening recently with the city of Las Vegas and the Badlands, and how it has impacted the city of Las Vegas's budget and decisions that they've had to make. And so I want to follow the law. I want to make good decisions for the long term. I don't love development. I mean, I grew up in a community that has tripled in size. So I've seen this development grow up all around me. My parents fought a development that happened in my backyard that potentially will flatten a bunch of mountains behind my parents' house. And that, by the way, still has not been developed, called Copper Canyon. But it's a zombie development, still on the books as well. But I do feel like I made the right decision for my county for the long term. And so I appreciate folks asking. I'm sorry if I disappointed you. We had people in that public hearing screaming at us, calling us whores. And, I don't take donations and give decisions, give things to people. I actually actively fight against that. And earlier in the meeting had discussed how a developer had tried to do that very thing to me, and how we are having it investigated by the state police because it is a crime to bribe an elected official. And so I do this because I love it. I love our community, and I want to make the right decisions for the long term. And I'm sorry for the frustration that folks have. I am open to talking to you anytime about this in detail, but that's the background of the decision.
One clarifying question. We've gotten this before too. Are you taking any PAC money? Who have you taken PAC money from in this election?
I've only taken support from the firefighters, the Truckee Meadows Firefighters, who their PAC. But I don't have any other PAC donations. I'm taking money from individuals and people who believe in this campaign and want to see change in Nevada. Most of the time for folks who are paying or who are sending less than $100.
Okay, we got a couple questions here about CCSD, Clark County School District. So I'm just going to kind of combine them. There's a lot more students than the city of Reno has people. There's centralized resources, but they're hurting from having way too low per capita funding. Mm-hmm. How could we get more funding for Nevada schools? But also, is there anything you can do to pressure CCSD to better serve students, specifically with harassment and discrimination? There's kind of 2 different questions, but putting them both together.
I love this question because I've been thinking about it a lot as part of our economic plan. We have a big priority to fund our schools. That's one of the many reasons why I'm running, because our schools it's shameful how little we invest in our schools and how hard we make teachers and teacher aides jobs are, and how under-resourced our most important asset in this state is, which is our kids. And our kids are our future. So I want to see $2 billion a year invested in our schools. That would get us to the median per pupil funding and would put the schools, all the school districts, on a better footing. as far as holding CCSD accountable, I have been talking to parents of special needs children. I've been talking to attorneys who represent these parents when IEPs are not followed. I've talked to teachers as well. I actually have a big gathering of teachers that's coming up that I'm really excited to learn some more from them. But to try to dig in and see the issues on the ground. And here's the problem. We know the federal government is pulling away programs and funding for our special needs kids. It's horrific. I mean, the cruelest, worst thing that you could do, take resources away from special needs kids. But that is what's happening. And the federal government also isn't holding our states or our school districts accountable to make sure that these ADA concerns are being looked into. So we need to strengthen the State Board of Education to be a better regulatory body on our school districts, on our charter schools, and hold them accountable to making sure that they are following IEPs with new resources, making sure that those resources are going to actual things that will help students on the ground. I know that a lot of people get frustrated. They feel like all administration likes to do is hire more administration. And so I think that that's another thing we can do at the State Board of Education is really make sure that they are meeting ratios, they are meeting our standards on educating kids for the economy of the future, because we also want to make sure there's some accountability there too. But that's my plan. I know it's a huge problem. We've got to do better. And I'd love to hear more about what your thought is. If you are an educator or you're close to the system, I want to hear your input.
I think maybe you misspoke and said that, but I just confirmed and someone flagged that the CCSD budget is over $3 billion. I don't know if you said 200 million by accident or if we're just it was something else.
I said $2 billion per year to get us to the per pupil funding we need in the state.
Got it.
Which the majority of that will go to CCSD, by the way, because it is the biggest school district.
Okay, lots of good questions, lots of good answers. This one has shown up in the chat, but we've also been getting it a ton on social. Why does it seem that Aaron Ford is the pre-chosen front runner? What's your plan about him going up against him in the primary? And then we got a question in person at a house party that maybe you can answer also. How can we get Aaron Ford to debate you?
So I think that folks have decided that Ford is the only one because in this primary because he has all the money. But I actually have the people power, the volunteers, and the real excitement behind this campaign because I am trying to bring change to our state, and I'm specifically calling out, especially speaking truth to power, honestly, about what needs to change in this state. And so we think that we are the only ones, and believe from some polling as well, that we are the only ones that can beat Joe Lombardo, and that this campaign has real momentum. But I know folks want to see a debate between the two candidates, and I think that they deserve it, honestly. So I think that they need to reach out. I know that folks have been reaching out on social media to Ford. I think that that's great. Thank you. Continue that pressure. Reach out to his campaign. Ask him why they are avoiding, talking about the issues, having these open forums. I will continue to have these open forums, ask Alexis anything, and be open about who I am and why I'm running. And I would say that it would be good also to reach out to local media, pin a letter to the editor if you'd like to as well, and continue putting on the pressure, because I think as part of making sure that we have a strong party and that we have a strong democracy, we need to talk about the issues and how our party wants to make changes or have debates about the issues. And that's what I want to do, and that's why I'm running. It's the issues. It's investing in Nevadans. We can't wait.
All right, that's all for today.
Okay, thank you.
Thanks,
Bye.
everybody. Bye.